Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca. I recently bought a Yamaha P125 digital piano, which I love, and turns out it comes with a free subscription for 3 months to flowkey, which is one of the more popular apps for beginners to learn how to play piano. There's flowkey, Simply Piano, Scoove, Musician, Piano Academy, and probably a few more. They're all basically the same idea, which is to give beginners a fun and engaging way to get their feet wet with learning how to play the piano, and I think they all do a pretty good job of that. So far I've had a couple of weeks to get to know flowkey a little bit. So in this video I'm just going to give a basic overview of how the app works, what it has to offer in general, and what it currently costs, as well as some things that I've noticed so far that are a bit unique possibly, in particular compared to Simply Piano, which I did use off and on when I first started playing. Then as I progress through the flowkey courses and lessons, I'll continue posting updates on what I think of it and anything that I discover. And once I've gone through enough of the app that I can post a full, more comprehensive review, then I'll be doing that as well. So here's what I found so far, and FYI, the screens you're going to be seeing are from my iPad, so I'm using the iOS version of flowkey. So let's check it out.
Okay, so the interface is pretty simple. It opens at the Songs Browse screen, which allows you to filter songs by different difficulty levels. And you can also browse popular ones, new releases, all these different categories, pop hits, classical, etc. And you can also just search for a song that you're looking for if you want. So I could go in here and I could type the name of an artist or the name of a song and then see what comes up. And one of the cool things about flowkey is you can see how there's these different versions of the same song. So the green one's going to be the beginner level, and then the yellow one's intermediate, the red one's going to be advanced. So that's kind of cool. So if I go back to the song screen, I can also go to my songs. And these are going to show any that I've recently tried learning, as well as any that I've marked as favorites. Now you can also see what the song's going to sound like just by simply clicking on it. That'll give you an idea of what you're in for when you go to try and learn it. And then that heart is how you add it or remove it from your favorites. So if I go into Ode to Joy by Beethoven, into Learn Song, this is the interface that you have for song learning. And it's also the same interface that you're going to have, or similar interface to what you're going to have for most of the lessons in the courses. And one of the best things that I immediately noticed about this is that you have an overhead view of someone using proper fingering playing the song with you for both hands. And proper fingering is a huge thing to try and get right from the start when you're learning how to play piano. So this is really, really helpful. You can see as I scroll through the music how the fingers are actually, keeping up with where I am in the song. And a lot of other apps will try to accomplish this either by indicating finger numbers or like 1 for the thumb, 2 for the next finger, etc., or color-coded fingers, that type of thing. But I find this to be really intuitive and super easy to follow while you're playing. It's a constant reminder if you're playing maybe something with the wrong fingering to try and help you get it right. Okay, so let's just have a listen, and I can play along if I want to. You can see I get the little check marks when I hit the correct notes at the right time. So some of the tools that flowkey has to help you learn the song. If I click on the right hand, you can see wait mode is highlighted by default. And what that's going to do is wait for me to play the correct note before it moves on to the next one. And because I have only the right hand selected, it's just going to wait for me to play the correct note in the right hand. So let's see how this goes. So it's just sitting there waiting for me to play that F sharp. Now it's going to wait for the next note, and if I play it wrong, it's just going to sit there. Now I could have done that for both hands, and it would wait on me to play the correct notes in both hands. I can also just slow the speed down to 75%. And this won't be in wait mode. It's just going to play the song a little bit slower and have me try and play along with it. Now the other thing you can do that's really helpful, if I click on the circle with the two kind of curvy arrows in it there, what it's going to do is allow me to loop a section. So I'm going to drag that over to here, and then this is just going to have me playing the first 2 bars over and over again. So I can practice those, and then I could maybe move on to either more of the song or just another chunk of the song if I wanted. So let's see how this works. And then it'll just start over again and just keep doing that until I decide I want it to stop. And I could also slow that section down if I wanted as well. And as you can see, you can scroll through the entire song so that you can pick out sections that you want to work on. So that was the song section. Now on to the more important part of the app, at least to me, which is the courses. So over on the left-hand side, if you click on courses, you'll see all these different course categories displayed. Now keep in mind, if you've downloaded the free version of flowkey, just to test that out, you're only going to have access to the first lesson in 5 of these 8 course categories. So the first one, Introduction to the Piano. You can see within each one of the course categories, there's going to be multiple courses, like First Steps, Easy Songs for the Right Hand, etc. Within each one of those courses, could be 1 or more lessons, videos, that type of thing, that you work your way through to complete that course category. So the course categories: Introduction to the Piano, Playing with Both Hands, Intermediate Piano Playing, Mastering Chords, Improvising with Chords, then Music Reading Training, which is kind of an intro to sight reading specifically, and then Playing Scales. There's 2 course categories for that. The first one is going to be the more basic scales like C major, and then the second scales category is going to have some of the harder to play scales. Now, the first thing that I noticed as I was going through these, and as I started doing some of the lessons, I kind of confirmed that, is not sure that flowkey has these in the correct order, or maybe at least not in the best order for learning piano. Definitely the first thing you should do is Introduction to the Piano, which is exactly what it says, an introduction to the piano, and it goes through some basic notation and rhythm and note values, that type of thing, and a very basic intro to sight reading. But then the next course category they have is Playing with Both Hands, and that is immediately getting into some more complex note values and concepts and things. And I think what you should really do is, once you've done Introduction to the Piano, you should skip all the way over to Music Reading Training, which is just going to be some really basic intro to sight reading to get your sight reading a little bit more comfortable. And as well, while you're doing that, work on playing scales. In particular, even if you just worked on C major, so you can kind of do that at the same time as you're working on sight reading. Because if you were to go directly to Playing with Both Hands from this Introduction to the Piano, you might get a little bit frustrated. So I do the Introduction to the Piano first, Music Reading Training, and the first Playing Scales, and kind of work on those and get comfortable with all of that. Maybe complete the Music Reading Training at least before you move on to playing with both hands. So the other thing that I immediately noticed about flowkey's courses is that there's no requirement for you to complete, level 1 before you go to level 2 before you go to level 3, etc. You can just go ahead and go into any lesson that you want, whenever you want, and immediately start it. I could go into this Improvising with Chords course category and go to the last course and just go ahead and start it. Now that can be a good or a bad thing. I guess as long as it depends on the person. If you have the discipline to make sure that you complete courses that you should that you're having trouble with, as opposed to skipping over ones you find too hard, then it can be a good thing. For me, I still consider myself a beginner, but some of the initial courses are things I do already know quite well. So it's handy for me to be able to skip to training that I know I need to work on. So within the lessons, there can be a combination of narrated videos describing what's going to be covered in the upcoming lesson and exercises. Then when you get to the exercises, you'll often be listening to what you're supposed to be doing first and watching the associated sheet music scroll by while the overhead view of the hands playing show you how you should be playing it. Then you get a few chances to practice it on your own. So let's check that out and see what it looks like. If I go to Introduction to the Piano, and let's go straight to the C position. Now the first thing we're going to get here is a video.
When you place your right thumb on middle C and your other finger...
So to skip over that. and then we'll get to practicing the C position. Now, the first thing that happens is a watch and listen. I could play along if I wanted to, but this is more intended for me to just see what I'm about to be working on. And now it's my turn. So it's going to be in wait mode. So it's waiting for me to play that C. So if I miss it, it's just going to sit there. So that's basically how the lesson interface looks. Then with most exercises, we usually get a chance to do that a couple more times, usually at gradually increasing speeds. And then you'll often also get a chance to play it not in wait mode, so that you have to try and keep up with the exercise on the screen.
So that's the basics of what I've come across so far. And so far, I really like flowkey. Some of the big positives, in my opinion, are the overhead view of someone playing with proper fingering technique. To me, is a huge feature. The freedom to do whatever lessons you want to do in whatever order you want to do them in, as long as you don't skip important lessons that you should be doing, I think is a pretty handy feature as well. Multiple versions of the same song at different skill levels is a great idea because in that way you're not going to get frustrated trying to learn a version of a song that you really want to play that's a little bit too hard for you. Instead, you can learn an easier one, and then as you progress, you can work your way up to the more difficult ones. No app, however, is perfect. I have noticed a couple of things about flowkey that I would call a little bit on the negative side. Neither one of them is really huge, but one is that, as I mentioned in the walkthrough there, I don't think that they got the lesson order quite correct. Since you can do them in whatever order, that really isn't a huge deal as long as you know maybe you shouldn't do them in the order that they have. For example, if you complete the intro and you dive straight into playing with both hands instead of the music reading and scales section, you might get a little frustrated unnecessarily. And the other thing is that I wish they had the option to turn a metronome on or off to help focus a bit more on keeping time. I realize this wouldn't work well with their wait mode feature, and that wait mode feature does give you the opportunity to take your time in learning how to read notes. And this app is intended for beginners. But once you get to the final play along with each lesson, it would be nice if you could hear a metronome count in and a beat in the background. And even though the songs in the song section don't have the wait mode turned on by default, it would be nice with those as well to have a metronome count in and a metronome beat in the background. So pricing at the time of this video, there is the free version, which I would highly recommend checking out because you can download it for free with no commitment and then check out the app for yourself. You will be limited to only 8 songs and only about 5 out of the over 60 lessons that they have. Then the paid options, and all of these will give you access to all of the courses, all of the lessons, and all of the songs that are in their song library, currently over 1,500 according to their website. The monthly option, so just month to month, is $19.99 US. And then there's what they say is the most popular option, and I can understand this, is for 12 months, paid up front, is $9.99 a month US dollars, so it's half the price, but you do have to pay for the year in advance. Then they've got an interesting option that Simply Piano doesn't have, that's a lifetime option for $329.99 US dollars. That one's a little interesting because depending on how long you think it might take you to get through all of the lessons, that might be worth it. But the other thing that's interesting about the lifetime membership is if you end up really liking the way that flowkey teaches you songs by providing you different levels of the sheet music for beginner and intermediate, advanced, etc., and also like the tutorial to help you learn it. The lifetime membership could be an interesting option for a lifetime of free sheet music because you can pay $2 or $3 or even more for a song sheet music online nowadays. So might be a reason to consider the lifetime membership. So that's my initial look at flowkey. So far, I have to say, I think it's a pretty cool app to get started on learning piano. I've included my affiliate link below if you want to click that to check out the free version or get one of the paid subscription versions if you're ready to roll. And I will be posting more videos on flowkey as I get through more and more of the lessons and content. So please subscribe to my channel, and then that way you won't miss any of those updates. Thanks for checking out this review, and have an awesome day. Happy piano playing.